let's actually do some work from our leg entanglements now. So, we were looking at some Z-locks. We'll look at a little bit more of them on Wednesday. Let's just assume now that we managed to get to saddle with double trouble here. So the idea is we're controlling both of our training partners' legs. New approach to leg locks is rather than looking to use this position to go into inside heels, where the preference is now is to use it to move it to Z-locks. Reason being is we're essentially looking to maximize our control while also looking to maximize our breaks. One of the issues with going for inside heel hooks is it is a very strong submission when we can get a good bite on it here. But if this fails, oftentimes what we've done is we've sacrificed the secondary leg, and this means that he's got a good opportunity to get out. At least when we look to attack Z-locks, we don't give up the secondary leg, so if we fail, we're still in a pretty damn good spot. So, what we're looking to do is I want to get Jude's left leg over my other hip here. Problem is that if I just simply let go of his secondary leg to pass this across, then we've got the same issue as if we went for inside heel hooks. So what I need to do is look to try and sort of recross Jude's legs in a way where I can where it's easy for me to pass it across. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to make sure I'm gripping deep on the secondary leg here. I'm going to take my inside leg through and pass Jude's hip here and just press it to the floor. And what I'm going to look to do is come down to a shoulder and then pin his secondary leg with my shin here. What this allows me to do is free up my hands so that I can come underneath the primary leg here and then over the top of the secondary leg. So I've essentially recrossed his legs. Before, his legs were crossed up like this. What I'm looking to do is go underneath and then through, just like so. What I prefer to do, once we're in this position, is I also want to set in place a laces. So the idea is I'm locking about mid-calf here. So when I roll back through, I've got my toes sort of touching Jude's hip bone. And now all I simply need to do, is pass his leg across into the opposite hip here. Now, to actually move into the submission, what I like to do is rather than looking to take scoops on his primary leg here to apply the brake, I prefer to apply the brake using my entire body. So the way that I do this is I take a climber's grip on the secondary leg here and a C grip on my training partner's ankle, just like so. Generally, I find that the straighter my training partner's leg is, the easier it is for you to break their leg. From here, all I'm looking to do is internally rotate his secondary leg here, keep my elbow wedged in against the side of my body, and I simply pinch my two knees together, and then turn to the inside. The exaggerated variation of this, if I did it without actually breaking Jude's leg, is I'm going to pinch my knees and turn my whole body in this direction. Oftentimes, as you start to turn, they want to bend their leg here. This is where controlling the secondary leg becomes important. So if I had Jude's leg and you bend your leg, best as you can. The idea is that I'm using my torso here to apply that rotation to your training partner's leg. What we're looking to do is we're looking to try and rotate this leg inside of the hip socket, and once it runs out of range of motion, they'll generally find that they're going to get pressure on either the inside of their knee or in their hip. We need to make sure we've got the secondary leg when we try and do this, because if I don't, as I look to turn, Jude turns with me. So, what we're looking to get is some variation of diagonal archie or diagonal laces as we've got here. I want to have his secondary leg pulled into my hip. I'm going to be using a climber's grip and wedging my elbow in against my hip here. We apply the finish by pinching and turning our bodies. That way my rib cage here pushes up on Jude's leg. We're going to look at some other ways to set this up on Wednesday. So if we started out in saddle, what I want to do is I want to pass his leg across the other side. It's important we keep the secondary leg because we need this for the break. So from here, I come up onto my knees like so, and this allows me to pin my training partner's leg temporarily. It's not going to last forever, but at least gives me enough time to rearrange my grips. From here, you can either rock back the way that you came, or you can go toes into the mat and look to roll them through. Either way from here, we then look to pass his leg into the opposite hip. I'm doing this without laces now, just so it loosens it up a little bit for Jude. But you can also look to do this foot to foot like so. From here, climber's grip, coming out, taking a C grip on the ankle here. I'm preferring using this C grip because rather than thinking about trying to pull against Jude pulling his leg away from me, I'm simply looking to wedge his calf over the top of my quad here. So now Jude tries to pull his leg away. Should be reasonably difficult. And so this gives me time now to pinch and turn. So, once more. Starting like so, I want to get his leg over to my other hip here, but I want to keep the secondary leg. So I come down to a shoulder, coming up, all the way through until my shin pins his secondary leg to the mat here. I then look to recross his feet. From here I can either rock back the way that I came, or I can go toes into the mat and bring him all the way through. I generally prefer to have laces, but I'm being a little bit nice to Jude now, so you can do this foot to foot. I look to pass his leg through into my opposite hip here. I'm going to work with a climber's grip and get a C grip like so. And I'm looking to internally rotate his secondary leg. The leg that I'm holding is not the leg that I'm attempting to break. I'm attempting to break the leg that's here underneath my armpit. I simply pinch and turn my body. Let's give it a shot. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I gotta keep it trendy on my soul. I'm the most selfish person that I know. Here we go, down the rabbit hole. Got a couple carrots around my neck. Self-respect, when you out of line, you put yourself in check. They don't hear me, they don't.
So like, start here, get a hold of this, to the side here.
Nice, yeah, good. So make sure we, so when we go here, let's point our knee over the hip. Just yeah, so this is where we want to be. Yeah, make sure we get an Achilles grip on that leg there. Let's get like a deep, like left arm, like wraps around nice and deep. Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
I be shining perfect time and check your watch. And I know who I am no longer lost. I got tired of walking around with a mask on, smiling with my heart, singing sad songs. Yeah, I was living for myself, I was dead wrong till I got the call, no cell phone. I got tired of walking around with a mask on, smiling with my heart.
One time, guys. So this is sort of to illustrate the point about we can use this submission basically without having to give up much control. And so when we end up in situations where we've got very flexible opponents, let's say. So like, notice here, the standard variation here, if I start looking to try and apply the finish, he's very flexible, so it's hard to actually tap your training partner. But we haven't given up much control, so if we need to, we can make adjustments. One way we can deal with someone that's very, very flexible and is basically we can force their legs straight. So when they've got a bent leg, if they're flexible, they can generally resist this pretty well. So what we can do is add in the extra step of forcing our training partner's legs straight. So the way that I do this is I can post out on the mat, I look to scoot my hips back here like so, and notice my training partner's leg has basically become completely straight. And then we do the exact same thing for the finish. So notice if you've got a flexible opponent and their leg's very, very bent, hard to get the tap. Like if I go for a second, show how like there's like a fair bit of internal rotation that you can like sort of get here. So when you've got someone that has this level of flexibility, what we can do is add in the extra step of scooting our hips back like so, and then doing the exact same finish of pinching and turning.
I'm such a weirdo, tattoos from my toes to my earlobe. Was a role model, I never had a hero. I learned how to live through the stereo. Coming from where I come from, nothing to fear, yo. Everything you see ain't what it appears, though. Everything that I built, made that from zero, then added a zero. I am my hero. You couldn't imagine what it's like in my mind. It's beauty and catastrophe at the same time. Remember they laughed at me when it was game time. Now I know that they mad at me. I'm what you can't find. I'm not from the day. I come alive at night. I'm not what you used to couldn't recognize. They all on the ground while I'm taking flight. And you're welcome to join me. I promise I won't bite.
Things they say, they're never getting in my way. And even if I make mistakes, I will always see them through. 'Cause I don't wanna play your game. I had enough, I'm burning up so hot I just break your chain. You
monster. I guess I don't fit in with the imposters. I'm taking the mask off, prepare your conscience, prepare for honest, cut off all the nonsense. I'm all in your shot, real wonder who shot you. Go call the doctor, boom like the chopper. Don't you get chopped up, I'm here to stop you. Whoever wants smoke like a roster, break you all proper.
Things they say, they're never getting in my way. And even if I make mistakes, I will always see them through. 'Cause I don't wanna play your game. I had enough, I'm burning up so hot I just break your team. You can never stop the spilling up inside of me. Play your game. I had enough, I'm burning up so hot I just break your team. You can never stop the spilling up inside of me. Can never stop the spilling up inside of me. Can never stop the spilling up inside of me. Never stop spilling up. Even if I make mistakes, I will always see them through. 'Cause I don't wanna play your game. I had enough, I'm burning up so hot I just break your chain. You can never stop.
That's what happens when you take a week off.